We apologize for the delay. We're a few minutes late, but hey, sometimes tactical issues happen, and that's what you got to deal with in this life. It's part of the journey. So welcome in, First Aid Pod, Michael Govier. Leanne, hello, my co-host. And today we have a special guest, another person who's ready to tell a story about their own experience. And it's none other than Jay Dunlop. Jay, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for giving us your time and energy, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
People excited. Yeah, look at all these people are cheering. Today we're going to talk with Jay about his own experience. How long has it been since you had a smoke?
We were doing the calculations at work today, and we are over 140 days.
Congratulations.
Wow. Hell yeah, dude.
Congratulations.
Not easy to do
So
at
far, this
all.
has been the longest time I've ever quit smoking.
Congratulations.
I quit for about 2 months a few years ago. That was tough.
Yeah.
I tried the pill. They put me on the pills. They were horrible. They turned me into a madman.
Oh.
I literally was losing my mind at everybody at work. So I got off the pills, just
Really?
went on the patch. And of course, one night out with the friends and a couple beers, and you have a smoke, and you're right back into smoking cigarettes again. So that's where I ended up. So, and I mean, I've wanted to quit for years, right? It's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing, 100%. I think I was just ready to quit. I was sick of it. I listened to my son from the time he was 5 years old till, just a few months ago, tell me he doesn't want to see me die. So that kind of hits home right at the heart, right? So
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
so, yeah, we're all doing
Wow.
pretty good. Me and everyone, actually, it's a few guys that I quit with at work. It was my boss and a couple other guys that I work with. So we all quit at the same time. We all
That's
made
awesome.
the pact, and we stuck to it.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Has everybody stuck to it for the 140 days?
Yes. No one's had one cigarette since. So there's 4 of us that have quit smoking, and we're all smoke free now for 140 days. Yep.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know.
Wow. That's so seriously.
That's great news.
Well, it's
Okay.
it hasn't been without its trials and tribulations, I guess, either. I mean, I rely on this for my cravings.
Mhm.
So it's a nicotine vape when it gets really bad, or I notice I'm starting to, get down on people or chew people's heads off. I just take a couple puffs of that just to ease the tension. And I was going, it's a little cartridge, you can see. And it comes with all the vape juice in it and stuff, and it's got the nicotine. And technically, they tended to last me when I first quit. These were lasting me upwards of 2 to 3 days for each cartridge, and I was going through probably 2 packs of cartridges a week, and there's 2 in each pack. Now I'm down to one cartridge every 3 to 4 days.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
exponentially.
That's awesome.
So I guess that's the answer to Josh's question here. He says, Jay, did you quit cold turkey?
Technically, yes. Technically, no. I've had the aid of the nicotine is the only thing I really had the aid of. It doesn't put any of the other stuff in your system like the tar and all that other crap. So yeah, it's been really great. It's been a big help for sure. Very big help.
That's awesome. Are the other guys using the same, or what are they doing?
So my boss is still using the same. He's still using the nicotine vape. He noticed he's cut down quite a bit on his as well. And one of my coworkers went off the nicotine altogether and is just on the flavor vape just to kind of get him through the paces, right? So,
Nice.
And the other guy, he's still on the nicotine vape, yeah. So
Good.
So one guy is totally off the nicotine, which is good.
Nice. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, this is probably harder than anything else I've ever quit in my life. So
I've heard that before. I've heard that smoking is one of the smoking and eating are the 2 kind of really hard things to quit when it comes to everything. Not that everything is difficult, but those are the kind of the 2 that are the hardest. And I think maybe because it's like everyday life and it's such a habit that started for a lot of people super early. How long have you been smoking for?
First cigarette I ever had, I was 8 years old.
Oh wow.
We all used to watch our parents smoke, stuff like that. Most of us did anyways. I used to watch my dad smoke a pack of cigarettes every single day. He worked 2 full-time jobs, and that's just what they did back then. Everyone would come home, have a beer, have a smoke,
Yeah.
And so, when I was 8 years old, I found one of my dad's cigarettes. And so I figured, I was going to try it out. So I lit it, and I choked and coughed and puked and swore I was never going to do it again. And lo and behold, probably just a couple short years later, me and a few friends, hanging out, and when we decided we were going to try smoking again. So we all hung out in the park and we cracked open that pack of cigarettes, and everyone took one out. Sure enough, 3 or 4 of us all took that big puff, and boom, we turned green, and we were all over on the side getting sick. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, like anything else, you get used to it, and then it becomes part of you. It becomes ingrained in you. So it is. It's a really tough thing to quit. I mean, like I said, I've tried several times over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a real challenge. But I mean, like I said, you got to be ready for it. You got to want it.
Yes, that's a big thing.
Josh says he was a 3.5 pack a day guy. What about you, Jay?
When I was younger, yeah, I would smoke anywhere from a pack to 2 packs a day. And the more stressful the situation, if you're at work or anything like that, of course, you'd smoke more. Me being a construction guy, well, you see us construction guys, they're hanging out of our mouth 24/7. I mean, I probably went to bed with a few in my mouth, But yeah, no, the most I ever smoked, probably 2 packs a day. And that was probably, back in the prime, back in my teens, my 20s. Yeah. And I slowly cut myself down over the years, and my son had a lot to do with that. That gets in your ear when you hear him every week saying stuff like, Dad, you can die. Dad, you can get cancer. And, your lungs turn black and it's not good for you. And,
Wow.
It's, it pulled on the heartstrings. That's for sure. It did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what, as a kid, you think that, okay, I'm going to tell my dad that I used to do. My uncle was a heavy smoker. And the cigarettes were cheaper at the duty free. So we're Canadian, he's American. So any holiday, any birthday, anything, it was always go get me a carton. So we'd go get the carton and I would be the one that would run in just real quick because we were always late for the party. So I would run in really quick, grab it. And I would spend the time going through, the labels that are like, and some of them are really bad labels of like all the bad things that can happen. And some of them are a little bit lighter. So I would scroll through. Yes. I would get the ones with like the worst picture, the worst everything. And I would just like
the ones with the teeth.
It was that. There was anyway, so there were quite a few that were really, really bad. And so it was funny because they would just look at me, these people, and I'm taking them out of the shelves trying to find the worst. And then I would bring it to my uncle thinking that's going to change. But like you said, if you're not ready, you're not ready.
Yeah. Well, I believe it's the same thing with anyone with any kind of addiction. Mm-hmm. You see it on TV and a lot of the shows that are out now, and like intervention, stuff like that. You see the people when they're not ready, they fall back in. You see it at the bottom of the TV at the end of the show. They relapse. They went back. A lot of them, and the people that are successful are the people that really want it. They can't stand being dependent on the drug or anything anymore, right? They just want that. They want a better life. They want to change.
Yeah.
And I mean, smoking. Yeah, everyone's smoking's not bad. Smoking. It's not drugs. It's not drinking. It's just as bad. Yeah. It's killing you slowly. It's killing you.
Yes.
Yeah, just because it's legalized.
Right? When you're young, you don't care. We all are invincible, right? So you come to realize when you get this age and you see this gray hair and, you've got a few kids and the stuff that comes out now and the stuff they learn they come home with. Yeah, it just boggles your mind, right? So I think, like I said, it was a big mindset thing. It took me a lot of years to get here, but I'm here and I'm happy.
Nice.
Next thing I got to do is get my girlfriend to quit.
Okay. Fiance.
Yes, my fiance.
Yes. Congratulations.
Yes. Sorry, I should correct myself. My fiance. Yes. Just a couple weeks
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What about eating? Oral fixation. I know you have the vape that you can go to, but have you been dealing with weight gain?
Yeah, I notice my snacking has picked up. I tend to. I've got my vices. I love my my soft chewy cookies. I love my Fudgios, stuff like that. And my girlfriend always makes it a point to grab me a box a week. So when I'm sitting and watching a movie, I can have a couple cookies. My glass of milk. It's my bedtime routine kind of thing, right?
Aww.
So it's basically the same thing. Like it's a routine, right? So you got to get out of it. You got to break those routines in order to have change, right? But that's just, with her, she loves to smoke. It's her stress reliever, right? And I mean, at one point, it probably was all of our stress relievers, right? Mm-hmm. So, I push it on her, but I don't, I'm not always in her ear. I want her to be ready to do it herself as well.
Huge.
Yeah. Here's a side note from Josh. He's down to 279. Josh is He's been on our show. You could catch the episode with Josh, which was a couple weeks ago, on our YouTube anytime or the podcast platform of your choice. But he's down to 279, which is, boy, that's like 80 pounds, almost 80 pounds worth. That's a big number now. That's what it is. So good for you, Josh. We're really happy for you. And he also had this commentary, which we just talked about quitting smoking, and then he hit the food a lot more. And Jay just kind of covered that,
Yeah, I kind of did. To the snacking, I have my regular snacks, but I probably think I'd probably delve into them a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
For my weight, it's weird for me because I fluctuate. I'm a construction guy, winter, a lot of things slow down. We work indoors. We're not doing a lot of heavy lifting, and if we are, it's, in and out of a door. When you're outdoors in the summer, you're sweating. So I fluctuate. I can go up to anywhere from 210 to 220 in the wintertime. And, we all love to eat during the holidays. So I put on all that weight then. But I put on a few pounds since I quit. Definitely. I'd like to say I'm topping out about the 220, 215 area right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm most comfortable in the 190 to 195. Okay. That's where all my clothes fit me the best. So
Okay.
That's right. The show is all about routines and mindset and trying to make sure that we can get the best from everybody so that maybe we could apply it to our own lives. What if things don't go according to plan here? I mean, how are you going to deal with it if somehow you do have a smoke? Do you have a plan for that, or are you just going to take it as it comes?
To be honest, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't want to have a cigarette. Mm-hmm. Not a single day. I think about it every single day. When you do something like that for almost 30 years or over 30 years, it's always there, right? It's the motions. Like I notice when I pick up a pencil or anything, I'm always holding it like a cigarette. It's a big habit of mine, especially, because I do a lot of carpentry. I'm always got a pencil in my hand. I'm always holding it like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. It's you got to break the daily routine. I notice a lot when I start to think about it. I'll tend to walk off, maybe go grab a coffee, take a break for a few minutes, just get it out of my head, right? Or just go puff on my vape. Well, once you have a couple puffs of that nicotine gets in your system, you think a lot less of the cigarette, right? So yeah, it's a struggle every day. It really is. I'm constantly telling Donna, my fiance, every day, I really want a cigarette. I really want a cigarette. I really want a cigarette.
Yeah.
And she just says, no, babe, you're doing good. Go grab your vape, she's a great support tool. Like, without her, I don't think I'd be able to do it. That's for sure.
That's beautiful. That's huge, because I was going to ask, how does she respond when you do that? Because Mike and I both struggle with our eating, and I am not good when I'm there with him and he's like, oh, I'm just, this is going to be a hard one. I'm like, well, then why don't we just tonight have a little bit of something? And so I'm not good.
Funny you say that. Me and my girlfriend have a very weird sense of humor. Mm-hmm. 4 years of being together, never fought, never had one argument, never yelled at each other out of anger, right? So this is a new thing for me too. I've never really had a relationship like this, so this is a big help. If I would have tried doing this probably in any other relationship, I never would have quit. So it's helped. I want to say exponentially, it's helped me. And even with her smoking, she knows, like, she smokes in the car, she rolls the windows down, we try to make sure the scent's not in there, because that's a big,
trigger.
I smell it, I kind of want it, but I don't know, lately, I want to say the last 2 weeks, at least the last 2 weeks, when I smell a cigarette, it makes me sick to my stomach.
That's wonderful.
I think I'm over that whole, I want the cigarette, it's just the motions, right? You're going through the motions. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much over it now.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Josh has a question. Have you found a different stress reliever, Jay?
Well, get yourself a PS5, play a lot of Call of Duty.
There you go.
You probably hear me do a lot of screaming back in my bedroom when I'm playing, but it's a great stress reliever for sure. You just run in there and kill a bunch of kids, and you have some fun.
That will not be the soundbite from here.
Well, yeah, I mean, other than that, I'll if I see I'm starting to get on edge and I see my vape's not working, I take my dog for a walk. That's a great thing, especially, we're trying to get a little routine about it every night, so it's just a different routine than what I'm used to. So, I go for a walk, take him a few blocks around around the neighborhood and whatnot, through the park, and come back home. By that time, we're both tired and ready to go to bed. So, and he's a great cuddler. So,
awesome. That's great. So, knowing those triggers, like knowing when you're feeling that and being aware of it, is such a big thing that
Yeah.
a lot of time it overtakes you. And then before you know it, you're doing the thing and you're like, what happened? So it's great that you're trying all these things and
Yeah.
being aware of it.
Well, I mean, it's nice to know that I've had a lot of support too, right? Because, you know, like I still got a lot of friends that smoke,
Mhm.
you know, and a lot of my friends that do smoke, for the most part of most of them have, you know, smoked away from me. They try not to have it right in my face. I mean, there's not much we can do when I'm having a party or I have my baseball league team over here, you know, and you know, half the team smokes, half of them don't, right? So, you know, a lot of the smokers will sit to one side of my yard, you know, and we'll be out. A lot of us sit out towards the backside of the yard that don't smoke, so we don't have to be around it. So,
Nice.
you know, there's it's just like I said, it's a mindset. You got to be ready for it, and you got to know how to cope with it when those cravings come, you know. And if you don't, there's places you can call. There's websites you can go to. Government of Canada has some great websites. They'll even help, you know, you get some medications and stuff like that if you want to go that route to quit. So, I mean, there's just so many options. The problem is not a lot of people know about them. You know, that's the big thing. Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
You know, they're like me. I chose to do it on my own. You know, but a lot of people, you know, where they don't have that willpower, they need that extra help, right? So,
Yes.
you know, if anyone's seeing it and you know you don't have that willpower to quit, look on the government websites. Those are usually the best ones.
That's
Right?
awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And you know what? We're all for that because I think one of the hardest things is people thinking in anything that they need to quit, that they need to quit it cold turkey. And they've heard the stories of the people that have just white knuckled it, like Mike always says.
Yeah.
And it's really the worst way. I mean, if you can do it, fine, but it's really the worst way to do it because it's not going to be successful for the most
Well,
part.
and I mean, especially for a lot of older people, guys getting into my age, you know, I'm in my mid 40s now, coming up on the mid 40s. You know, a lot of people in their 50s and 60s, they smoked for 40 years of their life, right? Your body's so used to that.
Yeah.
And when you get some people, just your body becomes so dependent on it for you to take it away, it's a shock to your body, you know.
Yep.
You know, I used to get bad anxiety attacks when I quit before. And the doctor said, "Did you quit cold turkey?" And I says, "Yeah, I quit cold turkey." He goes, "That's why."
There you go.
Getting these anxiety attacks and you're getting these cold sweats, your body wants the nicotine. You're not giving it what it wants. You've just cut yourself off completely.
Right.
Right. So he's like, you know, either you're not ready for it or your body's not ready for it. He's like, you know, so like, you know, it all depends on the person, right? Each individual has a different way of dealing with things and everybody's body reacts differently to things. So yeah, it's just something you got to try for yourself, right? And you got to figure out what's best for you when you want to do it. Like I said, I've tried the pill. I've tried the patch. I tried everything. You know, I've gotten my ear pierced. They told me piercing your ear would do it. I never did it. I tried the laser treatment, spent $300 on a laser treatment and started smoking 2 months later. You know.
What's the laser treatment?
So basically they take a laser and they go inside your ear and there's a spot inside your ear. A lot of people pierce it and whatnot. It's good for your migraines and that stuff, right?
Really?
Once you get that laser treatment in there, it hits a nerve cluster and it's supposed to, that nerve cluster, you know, is when you want a cigarette or you want a beer, it's those urges and those for what you want. It helps tame them, right? It tones them down a little bit. For a lot of people, it works. I mean, it worked for me, but you know, not everyone has that willpower, or that strength to last it, right? So everyone's different.
I never heard about that.
Me neither.
Yeah, a few people. My son's mother had it done. It worked for her. She hasn't smoked, you know. So yeah, like I said, everybody's different. There's so many ways to go about it nowadays to quit. So what you gotta do is just, you know, look online, run your opinion through everything, see what works best for you, you know, or try something, try different things every time.
Yes.
Something's gonna work, you know. You just gotta be persistent. Just like when you want that girl to marry you got to be persistent.
That's awesome.
Is there anything in your life that you could compare this to from the past or even recently? Is this anything that you've experienced that you're like, wow, this reminds me of?
Well, to be honest, when I was younger, I did a lot of cocaine. You know, like everybody, you know, some people, they get into this drug, they get into that drug, you know.
Sure.
Me, I had a real sketchy childhood growing up. You know what I mean? I had a father worked 2 full-time jobs, was never there. I had a mother who was there, but didn't care about anything. You know, from the time I was 6 years old, I got up, made my own breakfast, got myself off to school every day. I did that on my own at 6 years old. My mother was too busy sleeping. Would never want to get out of bed until, you know, noon. You know, things like that. You know, my father worked 2 full-time jobs. I mean, yeah, he did it to provide. Part of me resented because he was never there, but I understood it,
Mm-hmm.
And situations like that and stuff like that growing up, some people, you feel some pain from something. For me, it was absenteeism from my parents, whether it was their fault or not their fault, or it was out of their hands, whatever it was, So I turned to some drugs and got into cocaine when I was young.
Okay.
And I kind of compared this to quitting that because that was a really tough thing. That was my go-to drug. You know what I mean? Like, I was constantly, I'd constantly fighting with my parents when I was younger, and I'd fight with my girlfriend at the time of 8 years, and that's all we did was fight, and it was always fight. So you ran to the drug to escape it and to get rid of the headache and get rid of the miserable life that you feel you're living at the time, right? So I compared it to that. That's sort of what it felt like, is tearing yourself away from something like that, the very highly addictive drug. It's basically what it is. Everyone thinks that cigarettes are just, it's a cigarette. No, it's just as bad as anything else.
Yes.
It's just legally sold. That's all.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Like I said, I came on here today fully knowing I was going to be well open with everything. So, like I said, I've got nothing to hide. I want to do anything I can to help anyone to not fall into my shoes, or, that someone that has, then know that there's a way out.
Yes, please.
There's always a way out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't really blame my parents for everything that happened with me in my youth. I caused a lot of that shit myself. You know what I mean? So that's just part and parcel of growing up and learning and becoming a man, I guess, right? So.
Well, if you could go back in time, or if somebody is in the situation where you were at previously, they're younger and they come from a troubled home or a challenging situation at home, is there something you thought you could have done differently that would have prevented you from going down certain roads here? Or is that just inevitable in your opinion? So you just got to learn from your mistakes or the things that we do in life. The experiences teach us.
No, I agree with all that. I believe you got to learn from your mistakes. I believe that for some people it is inevitable because there is no escape. They don't have an escape. They don't have someone to talk to. They don't have a place to vent their issues. You know what I mean? Those issues turn into a habit, and those habits will eventually kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can remember we were all young and we all used to drink and have fun. You know what I mean? And I could always turn that off and go weeks without having a beer or whatever. And I still do that. Like, summertime's a little different. You get together. We got our baseball league, so I play 4 or 5 days a week. So I'm always I'll have one beer after a game here, one beer in between games here. You know what I mean? And at the end of the night, I buy around for the team, so everyone's got 2 beers in their hand. We're having a good time, And then I can go 3-4 weeks without even wanting a beer or drinking a beer or having any alcohol at all, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So for some people, those kind of some of those vices they do have are easy to say no to, right? It's only a vice when you want it to be.
Right.
Some people, it's not that easy. It's always a vice whether you like it or not, right? We see it like that. We see it on the addiction shows and everything. Heroin addicts and people addicted to meth and all this stuff. It's even people are addicted to like the aerosol sprays. There's just so many things out there.
Absolutely.
And my biggest thing I think was I didn't ever want to talk about it. I maybe have had the people to talk to. They might have been there, but I didn't make myself available. So how are they supposed to know, right?
Why didn't you want to?
Well, when when you're in those situations, you shut yourself off to the world, right? You're loathing in your own self-pity and your own, your own, how do you call it? Like your own self-worth, right?
Yeah.
Like you feel worthless.
Shame. Yeah.
Right. And you want to pity yourself. You want people to feel sorry for you so that they're not saying, hey, that's the drug addict, or hey, that's the guy that drinks all day and every day, So it's, for everybody's different. But I feel that if everybody, for just talk. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your brother, tell your sister, tell your aunt, tell your uncle. Yes. Somebody. If you think someone's going to judge you, go to the person you think that's not going to judge you. That's going to listen to you before they offer their advice.
Yes.
That's what people need, right? Everyone's so quick to offer advice and think that, well, because I went through it, that's the right way to do it. This doesn't work like that for everybody.
Absolutely. Wow. Oh my gosh, this is fabulous.
It's taken me a long time to see this kind of thing, like a long time. Now I can look back and go, wow, I was freaking stupid. Why did I do that? But then I wasn't looking at it like that then. I was looking at it to escape. I didn't want to feel the pain, And that's exactly what it is. It's a way to escape your pain.
That's
You know?
exactly
So
it.
did you do anything to come to terms with your pain, or was it
Yeah,
just time?
I did a lot of confrontations. The hardest thing was I had to cut my mother out of my life. She's a very poisonous person. Um, she's very overbearing. She tries to inflict her will on you. She feels she's always right when she's wrong. You know, she's parts of her life. I know, you know, when she would tell us stories, you know, you've always heard the stories from your parents.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing was that always her stories were always made up, right? And it was never corroborated. And the only thing that was corroborated was that it was made up. You know what I mean? So I dealt with so many things where, you know, she wanted, you know, people to like her, you know, in certain groups. So she would, oh, I was into that, and I would do this, and I would do that. You know what I mean? And just like one day, my dad had some friends over, and they all got talking about cars. She butted into the conversation. I know about cars. I took shop class, and blah 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 blah. Right? And lo and behold, you know, where they went to school, there was no shop class, and back then there wasn't a good majority of females that would take the shop classes, right? So, you know, you find these things out later and it just disappoints you. It's like, why do you have to lie about your life? Why do you got to make yourself sound so important? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and part of me has probably picked up some of that. You know, I want to be a Mr. Know-it-all, you know, but I know when I don't know something, and I know when I know something. So,
Good.
I mean, and like I said, with my dad, you know, none of this was out of his fault. He worked 2 full-time jobs because my mother refused to work, and he had to support us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're trying to pay for 2 vehicles, and you're trying to pay for rent or mortgage and insurance and all that,
Everything.
you know, it was a tough life. I mean, we moved around quite a bit, you know, the first couple of years of my life, you know, till I was 4. Settled down with my grandparents. My dad lost his job. We all know in the late 70s, early 80s, Fords, Chryslers, they all hit rock bottom. So we went through all that. I grew up through all that. You know, we struggled. We ate macaroni and cheese every night for dinner and hot dogs, right? So, and I'm sure we were all there. Everyone knows that struggle. You know, there's a rare few in this city that do. And, you know, just things like that. It's, you know, little things, right? So those things get to you, right? And it's like, you know, when you have friends over, my mom's always, oh, well, you know, we did this and we did that. And I would look up and just be like, would you just please stop lying? You don't have to impress my friends. They're not impressed by your stories, you know? So then it was just stuff like that. And, you know, it gets to you after a while and you just need to get away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I noticed, you know, towards my 20s, I was a rebel like everybody else. So, you know, we all rebelled and we partied and we had fun. We all hung out the strip downtown and, you know, we all did bar hopping. We had fun and we got into fights and we did stupid shit, right? Stupid stuff. You know, and I've come to realize now having kids and, you know, I have a daughter who's 21 and I have a son who's 14. And you see the life they're growing up in. It's nothing close to what we grew up in.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't see a lot of the struggles we did. Kids nowadays have so much more to offer for them. You know what I mean? Like the technology, computer. Like when I was a young man, we had one computer for everybody in the house.
Yeah.
You know, now pretty much everyone in my house has a laptop. We've all got a tablet. We've all got a cell phone. You know, we didn't have those things when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I have my son at 8 years old. He's a YouTube freak because, you know, he loves YouTube and he's always on there. So, you know, there's we never had those kind of things, you know, to take us away from that stuff. Right. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have the technologies. Well, we just plainly did not have it. And we would all go and hang out and party. And that's what we would do. And drugs were the thing that showed up at the parties, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, when we were young and grade school, I can remember when I first started smoking cigarettes. We would have New Year's parties. My buddy's mom would take off and we have all my friends show up there. And of course, all the parents would come back just before midnight so that we weren't all by ourselves all night long, you know? And I mean, hell, I can remember smoking a pack of cigarettes while we were playing Crazy Eights or euchre. You know what I mean? And, you know, and at that age, we weren't drinking or doing anything else, but we were smoking.
Yeah.
You know? Everyone had a cigarette in his mouth. We'd show up to a party when, like now, you show up, everyone's got a case of beer. Back then, everyone showed up with 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes, you know? So that's just how it was when we were young, you know?
Yeah.
How'd you get those?
Well, we all remember back in the day, you just needed a note from your dad and you could walk into any corner store. You know, it wasn't until I turned, I think, 13, 14 that they banned selling cigarettes to minors, right? You had to be 19.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I used to remember walking to the corner store with a note from my dad. Special mild flip top. Laurier. And that's what I had to get for him every time. And I remember going every day. It was 2 packs every day, and he'd give me a $10 bill. And I come because I was allowed to get a piece of candy or a sucker or something as long as I got him his cigarettes. So I could spend some of the change for myself, you know.
Wow.
But you know, and you're running, you're always getting those cigarettes, and you look at them every day, and you look at them every day, and you're always like, I won't smoke. I'll never smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you hang out with your buddies, and a pack of cigarettes comes out, and guess what? You're smoking.
Yeah. Do either of your kids smoke, or well, I mean, not your son, obviously. It sounds like.
Well, I mean, my daughter has never showed any interest in smoking.
Okay.
You know, I don't think her mother ever smoked that I can remember. I mean, when we were young, we smoked, but I don't ever remember her smoking after we were in our late teens to early 20s.
Okay.
And my son, no, he's never really had to care for it. I mean, like there's been a few things that my ex have brought up to me, you know, like she, you know, because we're privy to all his electronics, right? So I get to see all the stuff from his schooling, and she sends me emails if there's anything questionable that he's writing back and forth, and you know, and their messaging and stuff like that. And one day they had a forum, and they had people come in and discuss about the hazards of smoking cigarettes and all that kind of stuff, right? We all had that in high school.
Yeah.
And so they were doing that, and he had put through a few questions in the forum on his computer. And one of his questions was, if I just have one puff of a cigarette, can I get cancer? Well, his mom freaked out. She called me right away. She sent me screenshots of the messages, right? You have to question them, but you can't let them know that it was me. And I says, no. I says, you can't hide this stuff. This is what gets them to think we are being shady. If you want them to be straight up and honest with you, you have to come out and tell them. Yeah, I read your messages. My only concern is, did you smoke or have you smoked? You know what I mean? That's what you're going to ask them.
Good for you.
No, they're going to go behind your back. And it's either, you know, they're going to end up smoking or they're not. But you got a 50-50 chance, right? Yep. And I'd prefer to see them not even try. I don't want them to go through the struggles I went through. When I added it up, my God, the hundreds of thousands of dollars I spent on cigarettes.
Wow. Yeah.
I could be driving a Lamborghini right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, it makes you look back and just go, wow, you know, had I not smoked, I could have done this. I could have done that, you know? And now you realize, hey, I'm not smoking, you know, all that money is coming back into my pocket now. It's nice. Like before, we never really struggled. We never really lived paycheck to paycheck, you know? And I notice now there's a little bit more money there, you know what I mean? So if I want to go do that extra round of golf with my buddies, or, you know,
nice,
that money's there to do it now, you know. I don't have to go, okay, well, I could stretch out this pack of cigarettes for a week so I can go golfing with my friends this weekend, you know. So I don't have to dip into my reserve cash and my emergency funds, you know.
Yeah. That's awesome.
To us, you know, we save up a nice little chunk of money in an emergency fund, and something goes wrong with the car, or, you know, so, you know, we, you know, it's nice to have that there. I never had that when I was younger. I never had an emergency fund, or, you know, I went on vacation. I would just grab my last paycheck after work and go on vacation, you know,
awesome.
$700-800 and just go with that. Now I actually can plan ahead of time and plan a vacation and have the money there. And it's nice. I like it. It's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've got to ask. Okay, so, how did you quit the cocaine? What was that like? Like, did you have something that got you off of it, or like, what was that whole part all about?
They're called the Windsor Police.
Okay.
So what happened was I got on a couple rant raves with my girlfriend at the time, right? And you know, it never got really physical with me and her. Like there might be a little bit of, you know, I get a shove as I'm walking by, and I would, you know, make it known I wasn't happy about it. It didn't get physical to a point where I would harm her. She would harm me, but it was close. You know what I mean? A few times the police would get called, and I'd be asked to leave the property for 24 hours. And then I'd come back, things would be fine for a week, and that's right back to where it was. And that had a lot to do with the drugs. When you can't get the drugs, right? The attitudes form. And when the drugs are there, there's always someone thinking someone's not sharing, right? It's a dynamic, and it's an ugly dynamic, and I've seen it all too often, right? So I know when I can see it happening, you know, because I've been through it.
Yeah.
And you know, so that's what it was. Like, I just too many times I got locked up, and wasn't allowed to go back to my own place, and it was because of the drugs,
Oh.
right? And one day I just said, I got arrested. My apartment got destroyed. I caught my girlfriend out with a bunch of other guys, and
I'm sorry.
wasn't just caught her out hanging out with them. I caught her doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She brought these guys back to my house, and they were literally a block away. She brought them back to my house to have them try and remove me from my property. Well, I mean, that's not an easy thing to remove me from anywhere if I don't want to be removed. So I put up a fight, and at the end, I ended up out in the middle of the street, December 7th. I want to say it's going on 16, 17 years ago now that it happened.
Okay.
End up in the middle of Dougal and Wyandotte, no shirt on, in my jeans and my dress shoes, no shirt, and I'm fighting a guy. I got a handful of his hair, and I'm punching him in the face, and I feel a bang on my back, and as I'm flying through the air, I look over, and I see a cop car. And so they put me in cuffs and asked me what was going on. So I told them, I says, well, I caught my girlfriend in bed with that guy that's knocked out, with that guy that's knocked out, and with this guy that you saw me fighting with. I says, the other two guys in the house ran away when I pulled those two guys off the porch and knocked them both out.
Yeah.
So what happened after that? Well, the cop told me, he goes, it's not going to be pretty for you. He goes, you're going to get charged with destruction of property. He goes, even if it's your own property, you're getting charged. And I got charged.
Okay.
I had to pay a $2,000 fine. I spent a week in jail.
Wow.
My dad had to fly home from Australia. At the time, my dad was living in Australia with his girlfriend. He had to fly home from Australia to bail me out.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. And I mean, I had to, and at that point, I know my mom was briefly in and out of my life. I had to move in with this woman that I, at the time, detested because I had nowhere to go.
Wow. Yep.
So, I moved in with her, and, things slowly got better over the years. And, but at that point, it was quit the drugs, go to rehab, go to anger management, or go to jail. That's what my options were given to me by the judge.
Okay.
So I took the options of going to rehab and getting myself better. So I went to rehab in the hospital. I spent 2 weeks in there and completed that, was released. I completed all my probation and everything and made my life better from there.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome.
I had a little bit of a relapse one night and some police saw me having my relapse. And the one officer knew who I was from my incident, and he came over and politely reminded me how quick I could be right back to where I was.
Wow. Good.
And I don't forget that conversation to this day. I don't. I honestly wish I knew that officer's name. I'd like to thank him.
Wow.
Really?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Big change.
Wow.
I think that was the eye opener there, was when he told me, now you're not looking at a few months here or there in prison. You're looking at 2 years minimum. So I said, no, I can't do that. I can't be away from my kids for this. It's not worth it. You know, well, at the time I just had my daughter, right? So it wasn't worth it to me. But
And so he just let you go, gave you kind of like a
yeah, he let me go because he basically didn't catch me with anything at that time, but he saw me do it.
good.
And needless to say, when you want to get high, you'll do it anywhere. He saw me in a phone booth downtown.
Wow.
Doing a rail off the top of the phone booth, and who knows what dirty stuff was up there, you know what I mean? It sickens me now when I think about it. It really sickens me when I think about it.
Yeah.
But now I look back and think, I don't think I could be the person I am now unless I went through that. I really, honestly, a lot of my life, I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I'm a thick-headed guy, so,
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who they've abandoned everybody because they wanted to get high. So it's not necessarily.
I've seen it. I've lived with it firsthand with a relative.
It's not common necessarily for you to say, "Oh, I'm actually going to stop because I do care." A lot of people are so addicted they'll just plow through that and
the thing is that it's not that they don't care about anybody else or anything. It's that they've learned to care more about the drug than they've learned to care about anybody else at that point, right? Or even care about themselves. Part of me hated myself back then. I hated my life. I hated the way I grew up. I hated everything, right? And some people, they don't hate anything but themselves, right? They have that inner hate for themselves.
Yeah.
And they destroy themselves by doing the drugs, right? I see it every day. I see it every day. I mean, I have a bunch of people I grew up with and known each other since we were 4, 5, 6 years old that I don't talk to in the last 15 years,
Yeah.
because I just can't be associated with it. You know, I can't watch someone slide downhill. I offer my help. If it's not wanted,
Yeah.
my offer comes off the table.
Yeah. It's hard.
You can't put yourself down to help someone that doesn't want the help. Basically, I've learned that. You know, it's taken me years, but that's
You can't put yourself down. What do you mean by that?
I'm sorry.
You can't put yourself down. You said, what do you mean by that? To help someone
Well,
else.
I can't put myself into that situation now. You know what I mean? Like, where I see, like, I have a friend. You know, he got clean for a couple of years, and now he's right back into the stuff. And you know, he contacts me on a regular, wants me to come hang out. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I made it a point that I can't be around, and I call it poisonous people, because his pain can trigger my pain, and who knows, maybe I relapse again. You know what I mean? It's got to be a conscious effort on your part to know your triggers and know what they are and to avoid them, right?
Yes.
Now with me, a lot of my triggers that, you know, 10 years ago would have got me going. Now I can see those triggers now. They're not really a factor, you know. They're not a factor in my everyday life anymore. So I know that I think I'm over that part of my addiction for that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's hard work. You know?
Yeah, it sure is.
I mean, for someone like me who's done it on their own with no outside help other than my rehab that I had, you know, when I got in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
it was a struggle. You know, parts of me wanted to ask for help. Part of me is too proud to ask for help. It's just the way I was brought up. You know, my family life. You're brought up to be proud of yourself and be, you know, you shouldn't have to ask for help. You should be able to get off your ass and do these things yourself, and be a responsible person. You know, that was drilled into my head by my grandfather. You know, and he was a military man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all grew up with a lot of military men in our family. You know, especially our grandparents, and that's the one thing that he drilled into our head was being a responsible person and going out there and doing what's right and doing the right thing for you and for your family. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That was a big thing for him. So he always drilled that into my head, and it always kind of sat back there, right?
Yeah.
And I never really paid attention to it until I started having kids of my own.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's not just about you, it's about them.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what I do anymore. It matters what they see me do and what I can emulate to them so they can bring that into their own lives and make their own decisions wisely. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
it's a tough thing. It really is.
That's
like, you
good.
know, I can't say it's all been great. It's uphill, downhill, you know, but it's gotten me to my point now where I'm comfortable and I don't itch in my own skin, so to speak, kind of thing, you know, and I'm comfortable with myself now. I don't feel like I've lost anything out of my life. And anyway, I kind of felt when I was younger about, you know, not having a parental figure there or anything like that. It's gone, you know. I don't hold the grudges against it. I don't hold a grudge against my parents. I've even started talking to my mother again. You know what I mean?
Really?
I made it abundantly clear to her she's going to be held at a distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's my mother, you know. I still love her.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was going to ask that because I was trying to get kind of the timeline of where you kind of cut her off and then where she was and where you are now. So that is nice to hear.
I cut her off right in and around, I want to say right around when my son was born. It's been, she showed up at our doorstep one day with a shaved head, clearly shaved head, and claiming that because my dad smoked cigarettes around here, she had gotten cancer.
Okay.
So with further questioning, you know, you don't go see your family doctor to get irradiated medication. We all know that. You have to be a licensed practitioner for that, you know, or a licensed oncologist, right? So you have to be licensed to do all that. And just things she was saying weren't clicking. And the hardest thing was that my son's mother, her father died of cancer. So she knows when someone's going through it, what the radiation does to them, what they look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she faked that. And we called her out on it right away. And she claimed to have these multiple personalities, right? And that's when I just said, you know, until you get help, I can't let you around my son. I can't let him grow up the way that I grew up. He's not going to ever see the way that you treated me or the way that you did these things to me. You know, if he wants to know, he can ask me and I'll just tell him. And I'll be straight up with him. You know what I mean? But I got to think he's going to be at that right age for it too, you know. He could ask me tomorrow and I'd probably tell him, come ask me in 2 years when you'll understand it better. You're still young. You just started high school, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you're going to learn that you still don't know. You know, I thought I knew everything when I was in grade 9 and Come
Right.
grade 10, I felt like I was stupid because I felt like I knew nothing. You know,
Exactly.
life can punch you in the face like that sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
So is
it's-
your mom open to getting help? Because it does sound like that. I mean, nobody
so
makes up these stories without having some sort of something
um,
going on.
I've come to see my mom as a person that can pull the blinders over your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to get help. Yeah, I'm getting counseling. Yeah, I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks later, she's back to the same old person she was. And you're okay. If you're getting help and you're saying you're getting help, they should be showing you these things. When you react to something like this, psychologists, they all will give you ways to cope with that kind of stuff and to see it and stop yourself from doing it, right?
Mhm.
And of course, it's learned over time. It's not something you pick up overnight.
Yep.
But 2 weeks into it, well, and I wasn't getting along with that doctor, and I didn't like the way that he was telling me to deal with things, so I'm going to get treatment from my pastor.
Okay.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I grew up in a religious background. I'm Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
I did all my first communion, all that stuff. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, a pastor is not qualified
Mm-hmm.
to help you when it comes to these kind of, especially with mental health. Obviously, for her, it was a mental health issue.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And even to this, to now, I get messages from her. One day she's nice to me. The next day, it's back to the same old Jackie Dunlop that she was. Right?
Yeah.
Those kind of things, it hurts. Because I thought she was getting help, and you say to yourself, she seemed fine, and she seemed to be a different person. Like she was actually taking to what her doctor was helping her with, and sticking to the program he set for her.
Yeah.
And then it's boom, right back to the same old person where you're sending me threatening messages, and
Oh,
you're telling me, oh, you don't let me see my grandkids, and that's not fair. Well, until you get yourself straight, they don't need to see you. They don't
Yeah.
need to see this. They don't.
that's a hard decision. It's a very hard decision, but
It's a pretty easy decision, actually.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
this
it's
is
an
right.
easy one for me to make for myself, but it's a hard one to make for my kid. How do you tell someone you can't get to know your grandmother because she's
Yes.
in all sense of the word, she's a little kooky. You know what I mean? How do you say
Well-
how do you say that to a kid? You can't. You know what I mean? It's a hard thing. And it's a hard
Well-
thing for a kid at that age to let them make that decision. But I had to let my son make the decision. I had to give him all the information that I didn't want him to know. He's 14. I can't make that decision for him. He's got to be the one to make that decision, and he's got to be able to stick by his decision. So if he says he doesn't want to get to know her, then she's got to respect that at the same time,
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
it pulls you in both directions, kind of thing, right? Because I
Mhm.
want her
Yeah.
to be here, and I want her to get to know her grandkids, but her mental health issues won't allow that. And the fact that you can put yourself into a treatment program and just pull yourself out, you know what I mean, without a doctor even throwing up a red flag. What if I've seen her freak out on her boyfriends to where she's almost violent.
Oh,
What if that happened when my son was there and she had an episode and I wasn't around? Or what if she does that to her fiance?
mm-hmm.
What if she does that to my brother? Everything seems to be good, or my brother goes over to visit, she has a wig out session and she injures him. You don't know what's going to happen next. So, like I said,
Yeah.
it's an easy decision to make for me, but it's hard to make for my kids. They have to be able to make that decision themselves.
Yeah.
So, I had to tell him the way I grew up and how she was, and how, she seems fine for weeks and weeks on end, and then snap, she's a totally different person. And it
Yeah.
makes you just want to run away, and you don't want to deal with it. You're getting yelled at. And I mean, we all got hit with a belt when we were young. We grew up in that age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the discipline back then was your parents hit with your belt, or you got that wooden spoon out of the drawer. Well, all the belts and wooden spoons didn't work on me. I got a tough ass. I would laugh at my mom when she would discipline me with these things, right?
It didn't go
And
well.
it would make her mad, and she would hit me harder. And then it got to the point where she realized, obviously, the tool I'm using isn't effective.
Mhm.
I'm going to use something a little bit heavier. And she ground down a 2x4 with a handle in it, so she could whoop my butt with that thing.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just the mentality, and that's the way they were raised. That's how they know it.
Mhm.
I took
Yeah.
myself out of that whole thing. I could have kept that mentality. I could have gave my kids a cuff every time they were acting out, doing stuff. But I made the decision before I ever had a kid. They were not going to grow up the way I grew up.
Yeah.
I was not going to let them struggle and go through the struggles I went through that turned me into that drug addict or that
Mhm.
led me taking that drug. I want to eliminate that for them.
Yes.
I want to have a spot where if my son's having a problem, he can come talk to me. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Hard to talk to your mother
Yeah.
when she sleeps all day, and it's hard to talk to a father who works 2
He's
full-time
not
jobs.
there.
So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so that he can provide for your family. So yeah, it's tough, really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow. Powerful stuff here today from Jay Dunlop. This has been very enlightening, a very honest and open discussion.
Yeah.
Jay has not pulled any punches. Jay, really want to thank you for being so honest and direct about your experience and some of the lessons you learned. And, not everybody will take everything, but you might find a few things that you take from what Jay talked about today and apply them to your own experience of parenting or your individual challenges with addiction or whatever other personal struggles you're having. And that's what we try to do here. And that's why we really want to thank you, Jay, for being open and honest, man. You are a commendable guy, and I really appreciate you being on today.
Oh, you're welcome. 100% you're welcome. And I appreciate you guys reaching out to me, Like me and Leanne went to school, and when you saw that I quit and you reached out to me, I think it made me sit there and say to myself, I need to do this.
Yes.
I need to do this. If I can help one person quit smoking or avoid doing drugs,
Yeah.
and I mean, don't get me wrong, I like to smoke my weed. We all have our thing. For me, it's a pain thing, right? I was in a bad accident, so it's a nerve pain thing. It helps me calm my nerves, but it's become a part of my life that, and I don't never see that as much as addiction as I do with cigarettes or cocaine or heroin, methamphetamines, whatever the addiction is. I've never seen it like that. So, like I said, if anything, any part of my experiences can help someone,
Yes.
then, I've succeeded, I'll be happy.
Well, I think you have. I definitely think you have. And I think a lot of your messages, and that's what I love about the show, is just having a conversation because a lot of things came out of it. I loved the fact that you said, I tried the pills, I tried the patch, I tried this, I tried everything. And then, I finally had the right mindset. And then I finally did this. And the vape works. And that's important to talk about because a lot of people will say, okay, here I am in my success. Here I am. And this is what helped. And then you look at it like, oh man, they tried one thing and it worked. And nobody talks about that story of the 27 years prior that they were trying all of the things. So Jay, I echo exactly what Mike said. I'm so grateful that you were here and sharing your story. I really do know. I know that this is going to help more than one person, but like you said, even if it's one, it's worth it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And like I said, I appreciate the invite, guys. It was a great experience.
Yes.
If you ever need another guest, feel free to invite me. I'd be glad to come back on.
Thank you. We will.
Wow.
This is fantastic. And you know what? We may even in the future have like a couple of people and start having like a bigger conversation about things. Because it's very interesting. Everybody that comes on the show, I'm so grateful, are as open as you are. And that takes a different kind of person to be able to just, any question that comes up, you don't skirt around it. So,
well, I mean, I come from a very sheltered life, right? Or you didn't discuss your problems with other people. So it's nice to be able to get it out there.
Yes.
I get it off my chest every day with my fiance. So it's nice to be able to get it off my chest with some, some people that I know and people that don't know me at all. You know what I mean? Yes. Like I think it feels good. I feel great right now.
Yes. That's awesome. We're so
fantastic.
Proud of you.
Yeah. And we can change things by being open and honest. We don't have to stick to the same old script.
Yes.
Exactly.
And when she quit,
I wanted, like I said, from day one, and I told my fiance, I'm going into this to be open and honest. I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm going to answer any questions you guys got, however personal it is, because that helps, that stuff can build up, you talk about it once in your life, but when you talk about it consecutively over the years and don't just confine it to that one moment,
yes,
that problem stays out of your life. It doesn't come back, you confront it every day. So
amen. So, yes. And when your fiance quit smoking, then we can have both of you guys back on and you guys can talk about it.
Oh, most definitely. Shy, but I can talk her into it.
Okay, perfect. That's awesome.
All right. That's fantastic. We thank Jay Dunlop for joining us. A very honest, open story about not just smoking, a lot of stuff. So you never know what we're going to unpack here on the show. And that's why we do the show. And hopefully you'll take something from it in your own life or someone you love and care about that you're trying to help. maybe you can make a difference in the life. And if you don't, just try to enjoy the experience and learn from somebody else. We have the firstaidpod@gmail.com if you want to email us about anything you heard or future interactions on the show. If you'd like to be a guest, you have a story to tell that you think will help others, firstaidpod@gmail.com. And the book club is on Monday nights. We got a new book we're starting next week, No More Sleep Revolution. There it is. It's in Leanne's hand if you could see it on the live stream for those of you that are listening on the podcast version. Untamed.
By Glennon Doyle. So we're starting the part 1 next Monday. So email us and we'll get you the free link. It's an hour. We start on time. We end on time. We'd love to have you guys. It's always really great conversation.
There it is. Okay. Well, thank you, Jay. And everybody out there, we wish you guys all the best. Easy does it, everybody. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
See you guys later. Thanks a lot.